century ago, consumers in the United States were finding new and exciting ways to use electricity in their homes. Among them were small electric cooking gadgets that could be used anywhere they could be plugged in, freeing cooking from the kitchen and bringing it directly to the dining room table. This is the story of the Armstrong Perc-o-toaster and the forgotten art of table cooking. The Armstrong Electric and Manufacturing Company didn't start out as an appliance maker. It didn't even start out as Armstrong. The company was initially called Admiral Bicycle Lamp Co. It was founded in 1899 by a metalworker and carriage lamp designer named Charles Armstrong and a group of investors in Ohio to make, as you might have guessed, lamps for bicycles. At the time, America was experiencing a cycling craze, spurred by design improvements that made bikes cheaper, safer, and more comfortable. The whole country, regardless of age, gender, race, economic, or social status, seemed to be riding bicycles, including Charles Armstrong. As the story goes, Armstrong got tired of bumping his bicycle into curbs while biking at night, and so he invented a gas bicycle lamp that would light his path in the dark. Unfortunately, his invention and the creation of the Admiral Bicycle Lamp Co. was ill-timed. The bicycle bubble had already begun to burst. Recognizing the bicycle's popularity was unlikely to return to the boom of the 1890s, Charles Armstrong returned to what he knew: metal stamping. He renamed the company Standard Stamping and set to work designing new sprinklers, sprayers, as well as gas lamps for the next American, quote, craze, the automobile. All the while, Armstrong was reportedly watching the rise of a new kind of lighting powered by electricity with trepidation. Worried that his gas automobile lamp would soon face the same fate as his bicycle lamp, he decided to transition to electric devices, notably inventing a table stove that could fry, boil, toast, and broil, and was capable of cooking 3 things at once. After this expansion into electric appliances, Charles finally decided to give his company his name, calling it the Armstrong Manufacturing Company, and then the Armstrong Electric and Manufacturing Company. Armstrong followed his table stove with another cooking gadget, a combination coffee percolator and toaster that was dubbed the Perc-o-toaster. The percolator could be removed and the heating element became a small electric grill for cooking sausage, bacon, and eggs. The base of the Perc-o-toaster had an interchangeable horizontal drawer that could be switched from a toaster to a waffle maker. Now you may be wondering why someone would want or need a single appliance that could make coffee, toast bread, cook bacon, and make waffles. Well, the answer has to do with the time in which the Perc-o-toaster was introduced. As more homes had electricity installed in the 1920s and 1930s, the possibility and promise of electric appliances seemed abundant. Newspapers and advertisements extolled that electrical equipment is the modern kitchen maid, and that all household drudgery could be eliminated with the use of modern, efficient electric appliances, including cooking. And among these electric household devices were table appliances. And table appliances are exactly what they sound like. They are electric appliances meant to be used for cooking at the dining table instead of in the kitchen. Some of the more popular examples of these table appliances were toasters and percolators. As the novelty of kitchen cooking became in vogue among consumers, table appliances also became increasingly elaborate. Instead of having a toaster and a coffee maker at the table, why not have one appliance that could do both? And if you had one appliance that could do both, why not have an appliance that could also cook eggs and bacon and make waffles? Now, everything you wanted for breakfast could be prepared at the table itself instead of in the kitchen. As advertisements for the Perc-o-toaster noted, on the breakfast table, right at your elbow, your Perc-o-toaster prepares a complete breakfast for the family. No bustling around the kitchen, no elaborate preparations for breakfast, no time-wasting trips back and forth to the dining room. Simply plug in the Perc-o-toaster and this one appliance will do the whole job. And table cooking wasn't just meant for breakfast. Table appliances could also be used to cook luncheons, light dinners, and afternoon tea. They could even be used while entertaining guests, so long as you thought through the entire preparing, cooking, and serving process and properly prepared. As the Ladies' Home Journal noted in 1932, if you find you are going to require more than one appliance, delegate to others the supervision of the additional ones. Part of the success of any meal depends upon it being served in an atmosphere of calm, and if you are nervously darting from one appliance to another, you automatically inject a feeling of nervousness and confusion into the scene, which is positively ruinous. Remember that people are fascinated by watching food cook, And when it's made easy, they enjoy taking a hand in the process. Since this is true, table appliances are a double blessing to the woman who is without the benefit of servants, because family and guests will eagerly help her manipulate them, and because they make it possible for her to serve hot second helpings without leaving the table. But despite the novelty of electric table cooking, using table appliances had some hurdles for consumers. One was actually plugging these appliances in. Nowadays, wall outlets in the dining room and other parts of the house are normal. But in the early days of electricity in the home, households were generally wired for illumination. So to use your electric appliances at the table, you likely needed to use a light socket, requiring you to first remove the light bulb and then plug in the cord. The process was so cumbersome that Electrical Merchandising magazine worried it may require new and ridiculous rules of etiquette. When percolator, chafing dish, and toaster are brought to the table, let not your hostess climb upon a chair to connect them, but anticipate her. Do you yourself bring the chair, leap thereon, and unscrew the lamp in the overhead fixture, being careful, A, not to scratch the chair, and B, not to drop the lamp bulbs because they're probably the last in the house, the others having all been dropped during similar operations at breakfast. Now there were alternatives to using light fixtures as sockets. If you already had or are willing to install a wall or floor outlet, you could buy a butler tea tray or a table with an outlet built in, and run the cord under a rug to the wall outlet. But this meant that you would essentially have to buy specialized furniture in addition to the purchase of table appliances. For consumers who didn't want to use these alternatives, plugging in table appliances into the light socket was inconvenient and awkward, and so they may have used these appliances once or twice before they were relegated to the top shelf of the pantry or became a, quote, buffet ornament. Electrical Merchandising reported that hundreds of toasters and percolators are collecting dust today on the household shelf, and thousands of others are remaining unsold in the electrical store. Another hurdle was managing all the cooking and proper heating for all appliances at once, especially if you want to make, say, coffee, waffles, and sausages at the same time. Using multiple table appliances or high wattage appliance on the same circuit could cause the fuse to blow, especially if you were relying on a light socket. Lastly, many electric appliance manufacturers and power companies were more focused on selling larger devices like refrigerators and electric ranges. These bigger appliances cost more and used more electricity than table appliances. And so small appliances were essentially neglected by the industry from the early 1920s through the early 1930s, resulting in declining sales for table appliances. By 1934, the Edison Electric Institute had recognized that by pushing large electric appliances, the industry had ignored a large group of potential consumers who could not afford an electric range or refrigerator, but could buy a smaller appliance like a waffle maker. To rectify this issue, the Institute launched the Table Cookery Program to advertise and demonstrate the conveniences of table cooking. But this effort was too late for Armstrong. The company was already in trouble by the early 1930s. It was unable to pay back its loans and was ultimately declared bankrupt in 1934. Its bankrupt plant was then purchased and put under new management as the Armstrong Products Corporation, which made gas and electric heaters, electric ironers, sprayers, and lawn sprinklers, but no more electric table appliances. The bankruptcy marked the end of the Perc-o-toaster, but it certainly wasn't the end of table appliances. Though the term table appliances isn't widely in use today, you can still find an abundance of different types and brands of percolators, toasters, waffle makers, griddles, and even multifunctional small kitchen gadgets that can complete several cooking tasks at once. What didn't necessarily catch on was the idea of table cooking. At least in the US, the vision of cooking food at the table instead of cooking in the kitchen seems to have faded over the years. On a more personal note, I think it'd be pretty intimidating to try and cook at the table in front of everyone while they sit around waiting for their food. But I am also not a great cook to begin with. I do really like the concept of the Perc-o-toaster and would love to get mine to work somehow. Maybe that will be a future video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look back at the Armstrong Perc-o-toaster and the idea of table cooking. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to my channel below. It really helps me out. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.